Welcome to the Garden Show. I'm Peggy Ballister Howells, and it's December, which means, pretty much everything is focused on Christmas. Just taking care of stuff, maintaining. I've been going crazy, putting things in boxes. I shop all year long, so most of my shopping is done. But putting everything in boxes is, in a pile for this person and a pile for that person. And today we have to go grocery shopping because tomorrow Jordan is going to come over, and I think we're going to do some holiday baking. So we're going to make Connie's nut balls, which everybody has a different name for those cookies. Those little sort of roundish with lots of walnuts, and basically they're walnuts and butter. So and they're rolled in powdered sugar. So I want to make those tomorrow. Walnut fudge, which is important because I have to send some to my sister. So so it's one of her favorites. So I need to do that. And out in the garden, it's pretty much maintenance. Tommy yesterday put all the hoses and guns and sprinkler things and got all that away. And the day before, he covered the chessboard. Don't want that to get wet and then freeze, because then it would crack and that would be a disaster. So that's all covered with plywood and then covered with a tarp so that it'll stay dry. So that all that outside stuff is done. There's a few leaves that need attention, but can get to them a little bit at a time. But other than that, pretty much it's Christmas. Now, we did spend a fair amount of time in the greenhouse this week, which of course maintenance and just enjoying what's going on out there. So I do have a few things. And of course, last week we talked about Osage oranges, and we did do a project with the Osage oranges to see if it's worth pursuing, something that I heard a really long time ago about. You can take the Osage oranges, and somebody just told me this, so I didn't have any specific thing to go on, but that you can take them and slice them and cook them in the oven and dry them, and you can use them as ornaments or dried flowers or something along those lines. So let's well, first I should give the phone number. It's 888-399-7344, and we'll be here till about 11. So if you want to give us a call, if you have any questions or suggestions. After we do the Osage oranges, I have a bunch of things to suggest for Christmas presents for gardeners, and a wide range of prices. So some for just a few bucks and some for more than a few bucks. So we'll get to them. But let's, this whole Osage orange thing was really fairly entertaining. First of all, we decided to attempt to cut them using that's them. That's the Osage oranges. We showed you that last week. This is what we decided to try to cut them with. The blade that's on the reciprocating saw, very well used beat up blade that I used for pruning, was not going to work for cutting Osage oranges. So we got some very fine tooth blades that would make cutting them easier. Next. And this is how we attempted to cut them. They roll, and you don't want to be holding it with your hand while you're using a reciprocating saw. Not a good idea. So this is what we came up with, and it sort of worked. We definitely got slices, and that was them. And very gooey. The stuff that comes out of them, they said it was latex-like. It's more yellow. Maybe when the fruit's younger, it's more white and less yellow. But this was, all trial and error here. It was very, very, very gooey. And it was on the blade, and it was on the reciprocating saw, and it was on my hands, and it was on the vise. And what I learned was, if you want to get it off, you need really hot water. No amount of soap or even using a brush did anything. But if you ran it under really hot water, it just melted. So that was the trick. So we laid them out on parchment paper, and you see those black lines. That was another part of the problem. The black lines, I believe, were a result of the vise in the middle causing some complications. And this was our first attempt, and we put them in the oven at 350 to and we kept an eye on them to see what they were going to do. And this is what they did, which is sort of gross and disgusting. So that was a total fail. Did not work at all. So we went back to the drawing board, and I tried cutting. So I did find an article online after much searching. Believe me, there's not a lot of information about it. So we tried again. I tried using a little handsaw. That was impossible. It would have, maybe I needed a better blade or a bigger saw. It was very fine tooth, so that was good. And I did get some good slices, but it was exhausting and not very satisfying at all. And was hard to keep it straight. So we went back to the reciprocating saw and the vise, but we had to cut them thinner. That was one of the things, that we had to cut them much thinner. So the problem with that was the vise squeezed it, and to cut them thin, by the time I got to where the vise was, I was actually hitting the vise with the reciprocating saw because it was squished where the vise was. So that wasn't working either. So this was what we came up with, to turn the thing sideways and hold it really tight with the vise, and then cut it sideways. And I do have a video. So can we go to the video? Let's go to the video. This is kind of ridiculous. Go ahead. Obviously, we're in the barn, and that's our little workshop. Obviously the rooster approves. So that worked, and we were able to get them thin enough. You're supposed to get them between 1/8 and 1/4 inch, according to this one article that I found. And then this was, we laid them out again. Obviously we got a lot more because the slices were much thinner, and we put them in the oven at 200 degrees for up to 10 hours. So we just kept checking them. Now this was the afternoon, and we had to go out that night. So I think they were in there for about 4 hours, and then we turned them off, and I turned them on again the next day in the morning, and they were on for most of the day. I kept checking them to make sure they were completely dry. And this is them. And obviously the end pieces that don't have the center are kind of worthless, and they're very dry, and they're almost woody at this point, and it worked. I'm not sure if I'll ever bother doing it again. It was interesting. You can thread them and hang them as natural ornaments on the tree. The thing that was the most fun that I saw that you could do with them was to poke a hole in the center and use a very fuzzy chenille pipe cleaner. And then you could use them as dried flowers. Like you would have the end, you would tie the end into like a little knot, or bend it or twist it into like a little bit of a ball. And that would be the center, and you could use them as dried flowers. I don't know if I'll ever bother doing this again. I don't even know if I'm going to use these, but people talk about the fruits all the time. And I wanted to try this. So it was kind of interesting, and maybe it would come out even better if you used younger fruits. I don't know. But this was something I wanted to try. It's a little weird, but it was fun, and we did it. And now I can say I did it once. Okay. So I should give the phone number again. Do we have anybody calling? 888-399-7344. So would love to hear from you. We'll be here until 11 o'clock. So you have a little bit of time to call. But, oh, you know who we forgot? We forgot to say good morning with a little puppy. Where is Alfie? Alfie is growing. He's no longer teeny tiny. He certainly isn't big, but he's not teeny tiny anymore. And we've decided that I think his ears are going to go sideways, like airplane ears. They're no longer flopping in front, and they're not quite standing up. So I don't know. I think airplane ears, see how they go sideways, right? Yeah, okay. He's a good boy and he's doing really well, but he keeps us busy for sure. So, okay. So let's do, let me give the number one more time. Oh, and let me remind people to like and subscribe. We are up to 109 subscribers. So we broke 100, which is very exciting. That's not a lot, but it's a start, and would love to get more subscribers. So remember, you can view the show either on YouTube or on Facebook, and you can like and subscribe either way. And would be great to get a few more before the end of the year. That would be wonderful. All right. So, oh, and you can also go to my website if you want to send me questions. That would be the best way to do that, which is gardenwithpeggy.com. All right. So what should we do next? You want to do Christmas gifts? We should do Christmas gifts. We can do, these are a whole bunch of ideas for Christmas gifts. This is a little penknife that I carry in my pocket literally all the time. Now, I have said in the past, I carry a little knife sharpener, which is true, a little blade sharpener. Blade sharpener goes in my back pocket, and this little tiny knife goes in my front pocket. And I carry them with me pretty much all the time. They're very small. This is not, does not get in the way. And I suppose I wouldn't get through airport security with it, but it's, this one is called Squirt. And Tommy bought it for me years ago, right? I mean, how many years? Like 10 years ago, maybe. So a while. And it has a bunch of little things. It has the tweezers, and it has the scissors, and it has a blade. So, it has a variety of things in it, which is all good. But they're not making it anymore. So you can get it on eBay at a reasonable price. They also have brand new ones in the package, which are not at a reasonable price, but you can still get them. However, Leatherman has come out with a different one. This one is called Leatherman Micra. And not sure if it's the same size, but it's not much bigger. They run about $50. They come in a variety of colors. They have very similar things. Again, I don't have them side by side. Both of them have little key rings on them, so you can hang them from your keys if you prefer that. As I said, I keep mine in my pocket because I use it. I have it in case I need something when I'm, working around the yard. I don't always have my keys with me when I'm working around the yard, so I just like to keep it in my pocket. So this is kind of, a reasonably priced, nice little gift. All right, these are my Cutco garden tools, which I totally depend on. Interesting, the weeder, which is the one I really like on the left, is not featured in the pictures of the ones that you can buy now when you go online to try to buy them. I have both. The one that you see in the picture now and the one that you will see. I prefer this one, so I'm not sure why they switched to the other one. And the reason I have two is I had this whole set of tools and they were stolen out of my car, but the weeder wasn't in the car. So when I bought the set again, they sent me another one, which was this one. And you can go directly to the Cutco website. You can see in the picture on the left, the other kind of weeder. I don't think it gives you as much oomph when you're lifting. The other one has that nice bend in it, and I really like that. But the tool, can you get my picture out of there, because the price is below underneath my picture. I think that they're $121 for the set, and that's kind of pricey, but a nice present. These things last forever. They're really, really reliable. I have never had, and again, this is my second set because the first set was stolen. Who steals gardening tools, really? I mean, but anyway, that's an aside. I've never had them bend. I've never had them give out on me. I like the two different size trowels. I like the smaller one for planting bulbs, to stick it in the ground and pull it because, you don't disturb as much around it. I like the bigger one where I'm actually doing more serious digging. They're great. They really are great tools. So if you don't want to get the whole set and you just wanted to get a really good trowel, having a really good trowel is a very good thing for a gardener. So you can just get the trowel, which price wise is, a little more affordable for $35. And it's something that I think will last at least close to forever. So. All right, my son bought me this. I asked for it. This is a great thing. I really tend to use it only in the spring. The rest of the year, I don't need as many tools, but in the spring, you never know what you're going to need. And I have, all kinds of things in there. You can see that there's one with the red handle in the bucket. That is my root slayer. That's, the one that I use when I'm doing serious digging and there's a lot of roots and I'm planting things. This is just really good. You can use the square bucket to throw your weeds in. You can put your hand tools around the edges. I keep my hand tools in the greenhouse most of the time, but when I'm using this bucket, I will put my hand tools in those pockets and then I'll have everything and I can wheel it. It's not too heavy. Again, this is like a little bit more of a pricey gift. It's $129.99, and you can get this at gardeners.com. But I have to say, this is a good tool. This is a really good thing to have when you're working and you're moving around and you don't want to have to go back to the shed or the barn or the garage or the greenhouse to get the tool you forgot. It wastes so much time. So this way you can bring everything with you and whatever you need, you've got right there. Okay, next. All right, here's a little inexpensive gardening gift that I use these all the time. Now, Danny from A Touch made fun of me because I use these, and she bought me a delightful little watering can that is so much better for the in-between size plants. But these little squirt bottles are just spectacular for watering the very small pots, especially the succulents. And the other thing they're very useful for is if your plants are in a spot where you want to be really careful about making sure you don't get any spillage. I have bookcases in the greenhouse, not in the greenhouse part, but in the sitting part. And there's a few plants on the shelves and I don't want overflow because then the books will get wet. So in that situation, I use these squirt bottles. There's only a couple, so it's not like I'm spending hours trying to water big plants with a squirt bottle, but they do come in very handy. They also come in very handy for plants where the pots are so full that if you pour water on them, it goes all over the place, no matter where it is. So this you can just shove into the center, and I have two sizes. You can get these at Amazon. You can get them at other places. The bigger one is the 500 mil, the smaller one, 250. I use them both. I find that the 500 mil is really more useful, but I like to have both around in case. It's just handy to have. Maybe you would want to get a couple of the 500 mil ones, but either way, this is a great, inexpensive, incredibly useful tool for the garden or the greenhouse or the house plants. Or, if you're starting seeds, you can use them without, pouring water to disturb the seeds. You can do it really gently. So all good and not too expensive. Now this tool, I love this tool. This is a multi-tool. It's got a pruner, a saw, a propagation knife, and a weeder. And again, in the spring, I keep this on my belt. I actually bought a belt so that I could wear this because I don't usually wear belts, but I bought a belt because there's two tools I like to have on my belt in the spring, my hori knife and this, because this, again, it may be if I'm doing serious pruning, I'll use a ratcheting pruner. But if I'm out working in general, cleaning up beds, you don't know what you might need. And this was very handy. Okay, and I have a confession to make. Last year, Walmart had this exact tool on clearance for $5. I think I bought 10 of them and gave them as gifts, and they're wonderful. I have one left to give as a gift, but it's worth the $45.99 if you're, as multi-tools go. I had another one that had all the same components, but it was so flimsy, it just didn't do the job. So this one, again, you can get this at thecelticfarm.com for $45.99. And I wish I had bought 20 of them at $5 because they were great, but there's only one left in the gift cabinet. So we'll see who gets that. All right. These are my little tools that I use for house plants, small plants. I also use just a little spoon. I like that a lot too, but I've had these for many years and they came in a kit. I still have the canvas bag. The canvas bag is sort of dilapidated. I've probably had this 20 years. And these are small sized for house plants as opposed to anything using them outside in the yard. Forget it. They're worthless, but they're great for working with small plants. Again, succulents, transplanting, that kind of thing. And you can buy them. The kit on the right is actually the one that I had, and I still have that canvas bag. So, so that has been perfectly adequate for me. But the one on the left has other things. I'm not sure. It's got 14 pieces, twice as many pieces. Maybe they're better quality. I'm not really sure. But that one's $95. I'm not really sure why it's so much more expensive. But I wanted to provide options. So for people that have a lot of houseplants, these small tools really do help a lot. So whether you want to go splurge for the fancy one or just get the economical, everyday one, these are really both good, really good gifts for gardeners. Spray bottles. You have to have spray bottles. Now, the one on the right is, bigger and for, I like to use it with, mostly with like soapy water in it for when I'm using insect control. And then the smaller ones I like to use for, well, I don't usually keep them around as much, but they are handy if you want to use alcohol and water, to spray also for insect control. They're both really excellent. And it's good to have two. You don't need as much with the alcohol, or you don't use that as often. So keeping it small is fine. But they're all very useful and you need to have a couple of them. And if you need to, which I don't recommend, if you use any kind of a pesticide for insect control, you want to keep a separate sprayer for that. So you would want to use a magic marker, a permanent marker, and mark them. If you use one for a fungicide or one for an insecticide, you want to mark them separate. So again, another reason to have multiples. I didn't have any prices on that, but they're not very expensive. Oh, I'm sorry, this is off to the side. Now, this is a tool that I have shown before. It's sometimes called a rose pruner. It's a cut and hold pruner, which means whatever it cuts, it holds, so that if you're pruning roses and you reach into the center with this thing to take a branch, it pulls it out. So it eliminates the need for shoving your hand into all the thorns. But just in general, deadheading, it's great for deadheading because deadheading usually means a lot of cutting. And if you're deadheading with this, it means you're doing a lot of cutting without a lot of bending. So very helpful. I bought 3 of these this year as gifts. They run about $50. I got them again. Did I put them on? No, let's back up. I got them at Amazon and they were $49.99 and they are so useful. And Jordan borrows mine and somebody else borrows mine and they're great. So that's kind of a middle of the road, really useful tool, not too expensive, but could be really appreciated. And again, there's lots of them on Amazon. This one, again, it's $49.99. This one, the brand, got very good reviews. I found some reviews on the extension pruners and this brand, and it wasn't the most expensive. So you want to really look for this one. Okay. It was the only one that was $49.99. All right. So I just came across this plant and it would make a really good Christmas present for me or anybody else. This is called a pink variegated Eureka lemon bush. Now this has to be a house plant. This is not something you can leave it outside. I have a lemon in the greenhouse now, and it is actually covered in lemons. I have so many lemons. I need to harvest the lemons, or at least some of the lemons, put them in the fridge there. So I don't really need another lemon tree until I saw this one, because it's pink inside. It is a pink lemon. It does not make pink lemonade. It does not. Apparently everything I read about it is that the juice comes out pretty much clear. So it's not going to give you pink lemonade. Pink lemonade is generally lemonade with strawberries blended in, or maybe raspberries, but that's what makes pink lemonade. But how cool is this? This is really fun. It would make, and it can be pruned, and according to what I read about it, it can actually produce lemons the first year you have it. How cool is that? So you can go online and look for Eureka. So that's the end of my gifts. Next week, I have others that I will suggest. If you have any suggestions for what would make a good Christmas gift, or if you want to not so subtly put a hint out there for what you would like, in case people are listening, you are more than welcome to call and say, this is what I want for Christmas. We can pretend that, we're talking to Santa here. And you can say, I want, and I would love to hear what gardening people want for Christmas. That would be fun. Might be inspirational for other people. So would love to hear from you. Again, the number here is 888-399-7344. Now, this afternoon, were you planning on putting up Christmas lights? Was that today? No, next week? Oh, when I'm baking. All right. So next, when my daughter comes next Saturday or Sunday? Sunday, right? Sunday, she's coming, and we're going to do more baking. And she wants to make Mrs. Fields chocolate chip cookies that are pretty much take all day. And then she wants to make the thumb press cookies that you put the different kinds of jelly or nuts or chocolate chips in the center. That's what she wants to make. So while Kira and I are baking next Sunday, Daddy will put up the Christmas lights. So that's the plan. And then the following weekend, that's already the 16th, right? I'll be baking. I'm going to a Christmas party, and I promised a cherry cheesecake and an apple crumble. So I'll be baking in preparation for that for sure. And after that, it's like coming up on Christmas. So a lot of stuff going on in the kitchen. All right, let me give the phone number again. Haven't had anybody call today. Why is that? Where is everybody?
Christmas shopping.
Think people are Christmas shopping? Okay. The number again, 888-399-7344. All right, there's that other slideshow that I put together a while ago. Let's go to the propagation one. Let's do that one. That wasn't, and then the other one, the propagation in November, we did a couple different things in the greenhouse, but then the Mexican petunia one, I would like to maybe do, because I did some propagating with that I would like to, I did an update and I'd like to show that, but let's do propagating in November now. Okay, these were some things that I decided I wanted to propagate. The Streptocarpella, we're going to go with that, were from Anne-Marie, and she gave me them with tons of roots on them already. I have trouble keeping this plant going. In the greenhouse, insects tend to spread very quickly when I have an insect problem, and I try to get it under control. But the fuzzy leaves on this, when it gets mealybugs, I can't get them off. No amount of spraying or scrubbing gets them off enough to really clean it up, and I lose them. So Anne-Marie doesn't seem to have this problem, and she gives me cuttings whenever I have trouble. So these are nice and healthy cuttings, and that's the little Dracaena Godseffiana on the back that I just want to put in a better pot. And then that little Crassula in front is, we want to try to divide that. So I'll show you what's going on with all that. Again, those are tools that we like to use. I showed them as a gift, but these are great tools for doing what we're about to do. Okay. that's the little crassula. I pulled it out of the pot. It doesn't have a huge amount of roots, but I didn't like that it was in a plastic pot. And it definitely, I thought I could get 3 plants out of it easily, but I couldn't do that. I was only able to get 2. So I pulled them apart and I potted them up in clay. Went from plastic to clay. I always prefer clay because they breathe. And I used the smaller pots, and that's half the plant. That's half, and it looks really good. And this way it'll grow and fill in. It has all those little pups growing around the base. And this way I will have one that I can use either as, I love to give gifts to people, plants. When people come to visit in the greenhouse, I love to give them away. I also like to take them when I go as a house gift to people. And I also like to have them for the plant exchange. So I'm always propagating for those reasons. And that's the 2 of them. And see that little tool? That little tool on the left, that little round, that actually came from a xylophone. It's the xylophone we gave to the chickens. And that little tool I use all the time. It is perfect for tamping down the soil in small pots. It's also, when you use the other end, it's great for just poking holes if you want to, stick a cutting in. Now, I'm not sure. Oh, that picture on the right is the Streptocarpella flowers. And they are so beautiful, and they hover over the top of the plant on those long stems, and they really almost look like little butterflies fluttering over the top of the plant. And it has a lot of names. And, Anne-Marie and I have been discussing what to actually call them for years now. And I always knew it as Streptocarpus. But I found it called Streptocarpella, all one name. Also Streptocarpella saxorum. And if you continue to look, you find more variations on this. Common names are nodding violet or Cape primrose. It's one of those plants where the nomenclature is completely confused. You can see on the left, they all have a decent amount of roots. And there I am using that little tool to pack the soil down again. And that's how many we got out of the one that I'm going to keep is in the clay pot, and the other ones will be for giveaways in the plastic pots. So we did pretty well. We got 5 out of that little vase full of roots. And we moved them over to the nursery. This is the farthest spot in the greenhouse where I keep plants away from the glass. It doesn't get too much sun. It's bright light all day. You don't really want to keep plants that are newly potted and transplanted or divided in blazing sun because the root systems aren't established. So I keep them in this bright light in a relatively shady part of the greenhouse. Now that tall plant in the middle there is a Dracaena, and that lives there. Tommy gave me that plant many years ago. It's in a little tiny pot, and it seems to be doing just fine. And that Christmas cactus, obviously it's happy. It's blooming there. It lives there. It doesn't ever move. So, all right, next. All right, this is something that I want to point out. You need to put, when you're going from plastic to clay, you've got to put soil in the bottom. I do not understand pot manufacturers. Why clay pots are so much narrower, that's not easy to say, at the base than plastic pots. So when you're going from plastic to clay, it's always a bit of a challenge because you don't want to squeeze the roots, but you don't want to put so much soil in that they're going to be waterlogged. Luckily, it's offset a little bit by the fact that the pots themselves are clay and it breathes through the sides, so that all helps. But you always need to put a little soil in the bottom to get back to the point where, the roots, the bottom of the roots from the plastic pot will fit into the clay pot. You always have to just take a little care there and pay attention. So I was transplanting this Dracaena, and that spoon that I'm using in this case was a spoon we unburied in the backyard. We were working and I found that spoon, and it's ancient and it deserved some recognition. So we salvaged it from the yard. I often use that. And there is the squirt bottle. So, getting it right in there and watering it in works very well. Nice small plant, harder to use a big watering can. Most of the things that I water in the greenhouse, I use a hose, a wand on the end of a collapsible hose. And that way I can get the whole greenhouse. But if you're trying to be tidy, that is not the way to do it. It's great because the greenhouse is designed that has a gravel floor and stainless steel tables. So, it's fine to get water everywhere. But if you're trying to do anything tidy, you don't want to use a hose with a wand on the end. So this works really well. And the Dracaena, I put again, this one, the roots weren't really disturbed, so I didn't divide it or anything. So I put it out. There's a little Dracaena marginata right next to it, and that seems to be doing really well on that spot. So it's kind of under the roof of the greenhouse, but as far away from the front wall as you can get. So it gets a little bit of sun. It gets bright light all day. I think that's a good spot, and we'll see how it does. Okay, do we have a caller? Okay, yay. So we're going to go to the phones. I'm going to give the phone number again, 888-399-7344. And we're going to have a little chat with Chris, who's calling us from Scotch Plains, my good buddy. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Good morning, Peggy. Good morning. Mixed feelings. Love the rain. I'd like to be outside, though, but we'll take it anyhow. I have enough things to do inside. You were asking about Christmas gift suggestions.
Yes.
One thing that I've given to people, it's simple. You don't even need to be a gardener, but it's a simple potted amaryllis. It's sort of like user-friendly. They grow with very little attention. They're very showy, gives people a big success experience. So if they aren't too accustomed to growing things, it's a good way to get them started.
That is a really good idea. And you can do that in a variety of ways. You can buy them, like Easter lilies, ready to bloom and give them, a lot of color, but you can also buy them in little kits. So you could go either way. You can give them fully, about to pop for the gardener or for the gift receiver that has no clue about gardening, or if people that have a little bit of experience, because you're absolutely right. It's hard to screw them up. They're really pretty easy, but you can buy kits where they come with a pot and the bulb and soil. Sometimes I've seen them come with this little compressed cube of soil. Have you ever seen that, Chris?
Yeah. It's like a core or like a peat cube or something.
Yes.
It's kind of fun to moisten it and watch it grow.
Exactly. It's like those sponges you used to get as a kid. Do you remember them? Those little flat
Mm-hmm.
sponges. Yeah, it's like them. So it would come. So either way, you can give it either way. And of course, I've told the story before about my tractor trailer full of amaryllises. When I was running the gardening program, there was a warehouse that was like a gift warehouse, that people could order things from a catalog. Back then, nobody ordered
Mm-hmm.
online. And they were sold. The whole company was sold. But that takes time. That isn't something that's instantaneous. And when the new owners went in to see what they had and dealing with, new ownership, they came across what was essentially a tractor trailer load of the boxed amaryllises that were supposed to be Christmas gifts. And they were all growing out of the boxes.
Oh boy.
And they, well, you know what the flower looks like. And the flower stalk was sticking out of the boxes, growing at various angles in all directions.
Oh,
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely suggestive and really funny looking. And they brought me literally a tractor trailer full. They unloaded it and they dropped it off at a garden site. And I had pallet after pallet after pallet of these things in boxes. And so we were just giving them away. We gave them away and then people could just take them. But we also planted them in the gardens and we used the bulbs to edge all the gardens. So because we had so many. And in the summer, they were just green foliage, but they were planted in the ground in full sun where we were growing vegetable gardens and display gardens, and there were thousands. Chris, there were thousands. And so when it came time to dig them up, to save them, we brought them to my house. And I lived in New Brunswick at the time, and there was a room in my basement that obviously used to be where the coal came through the coal chute. So it was a confined room and had a door, and I didn't have anything in it because it was, kind of coal dusty. And so we put them in there because we thought that was, a good place. And there was literally a mountain in there of the bulbs that we dug up. And the pile was probably 3 feet high, and came to a sort of a point on the top, but a pile 3 feet high of the amaryllis bulbs that we dug up, not all the other ones we had given away. But because they had been planted outside, Chris, and they had been huge, the next year when we potted them up and used them again, and I'm giving them away I was getting 2 and 3 flower stalks per bulb. They were amazing. They were amazing because they'd been outside all summer growing in blazing sun. So I think I still have a couple of them. Over the years, I've gotten more amaryllises and people have given them to me and I've purchased them. And but I think a few of the ones that I have are still hanging around from then. And that's like 25 years ago. So if you take reasonable care of them, they will last almost forever. What do you think of that?
That is quite an amaryllis story, but it's inspiring. I might just pick a few up and put them interplant them with the vegetables this summer. Seems like it has a lot of opportunities, no doubt about it.
Well, they made beautiful edging, to mark all the edges of the display gardens, because it was these green, bright green, rich, floppy, not even floppy, but kind of spreading leaves because they got so much sun, they didn't flop, they were upright. And each bulb ended up getting like 7 or 8 leaves being outside. So anyway, you're right. They make a good present. And if with just a little care can last, year after year after year, and they even can be divided. So all good. So are you asking for one for Christmas, Chris, or just a suggestion for other people?
Well, I wasn't planning to, but now it seems like it's a pretty good idea.
All right.
I'm inspired with that.
All right. Add it to your list. Okay. And send it to Santa. I'm sure you'll get a good response.
Peggy, do I have time for 1 or 2 other things?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So real quickly, I took some cuttings of a sweet potato vine with the hope of overwintering them inside the house. They rooted well, they're doing well, but it looks to me like they have spider mites. I see a lot of webbing, the leaves look deformed. I was kind of at odds what to do. I was thinking about spraying the foliage or possibly using insecticidal soap. Also thinking about just picking, like chopping off the leaves at the top where the infestation seems to be the worst. They're all about like 6 or 8 inches tall, but they definitely look pretty quilly at the moment. Do you have any suggestions?
A couple questions. Are they potted or are they just in water?
No, these are potted. They were well rooted. They're in like I guess like 6-inch pots at this point.
Okay, take some aluminum foil and cover the pot thoroughly. Wrap it around the stem, cover it thoroughly. Turn the plant upside down and run it under water.
Oh, okay.
And if you want, you can even spray it with soapy water first, like spray it thoroughly with soapy water and let it sit for an hour or so and then turn it upside down. Because they tend to concentrate on the underside of the leaves, which is why just spraying it isn't really helpful because it's really hard to spray the underside of the leaves. But if you spray it and get it as wet as possible by spraying it with soapy water, and then you turn it upside down and wash the underside of the leaves under a faucet. I would say if you have a spray nozzle, if you would use the spray nozzle, kind of fierce, but not real fierce. The leaves on that plant are kind of delicate, so you don't want to use too fierce, but the idea is you want to wash them off. That's really
Mhm.
That's, yeah, and over a sink, so not any place around other plants. You want to isolate them over a sink, hold them upside down, and use the spray nozzle and just spray the bejeebies out of them, and that'll definitely help. And they reproduce every 3 to 5 days. So what you want to do is repeat that for a few treatments every 3 to 5 days, so that
Okay.
you get all the eggs as they hatch out, and that should help.
Oh, thank you so much. I never thought of that or heard about putting the aluminum foil, but that certainly makes a lot of sense. I was just going to squirt it with a sprayer from the sink, but I could see where that would do a much better job, though. So I do appreciate the suggestion.
Yeah, the tin foil just really helps keep everything intact, so it doesn't fall out of the pot and the soil doesn't go all over the place. Yeah, it really just helps contain it all. So, and it gives you the opportunity to do a more thorough job spraying. So, you said one more thing.
And Peggy, the final thing, just an experience that I had. I remember it was sort of in the late summer or early fall. One of the callers, I think it was Bob from Piscataway, was talking about using straw as a mulch, and you were talking about the importance of having the straw get out in the weather to get seasoned. So I took that one step further. I actually bought some mushroom spawn for oyster mushrooms, and I was able to inoculate the bale of straw with the oyster mushrooms, and believe it or not, they started producing yesterday. So it wasn't a hard thing to do. The oyster.
Oh, send me pictures, Chris. Send me pictures. I want pictures.
I will try to. They're brown mushrooms on brown straw, but I will do my best. I have to talk to my son and figure out how to send you pictures, but I will try. I really will.
Well, you can send them. Yes, you can email them. You can send them to my website. You can. I'd like to give you my phone number, but I really don't want to do that over the air. So why don't
I think, Peggy, I think I have that from the past when you were inviting people to your garden.
Okay,
thing. So
then that's the easiest way.
Number, if you don't mind, I could do that.
That would be the easiest. If you have my cell phone number, you can just send them to my phone, and then I can download them to Google Photos right on my phone. And then I can use them and I can show them next week. Oh, I'm so excited. This is very cool. This is very cool.
I will give it a try.
Okay. All right. That's great. All right. You have a wonderful day. All right. Thanks for calling, Chris. Bye-bye now. Okay. We're going to stick with the phones. Wasn't that cool, though? That was so cool. And we're going to talk to my dear friend, Danny from Metuchen. Hey, Danny girl.
Good morning, Peggy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Since you're talking about Christmas gift idea, I think I have a few other to add, very little things. I actually found a pack of plastic plant labels that would be a good idea for gardeners to identify what's the plant that they planted.
Right. That's a good idea.
Something.
Yep.
Right. And another one is, we're always kneeling down, going down to our hands and knees to work. And I have some of these pads, and you have to, constantly move it along with you when you try to, shift doing work. I found this pad that you strap it onto your knee. It's almost like the kids roller skating with this knee protector thing. So that would be something good.
That
easy,
would be
inexpensive.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's my contribution.
And those are
Christmas
excellent.
gift.
Those are excellent contributions. I was looking yesterday, and I came across that thing that I've seen. I've never really, it's always intrigued me, but I've never bought it. It's that kneeling bench where you can kneel on it, but it has two handles to help you get up, but you can flip it around upside down, and then you can use it. Yeah. And I think, I might try to find some pictures of that to show that next week, because I think that can be very useful also.
Right.
Oh,
I actually have one of them, and it's good that when you try to push yourself up, but this is just very convenient. You can go down and dig out a few weeds anywhere when you're going around, and sometimes that you can't get the kneeling bench into
Close
the
enough.
spot that you need it.
right. I understand.
Yeah.
Well, that is an excellent idea. So I will next week, I will search out some pictures and some options as to where people can buy them. How do you like that? And I will
Sounds
have,
good.
I will have pictures for next
I'm
week.
always out for looking for these, interesting thing. And actually, I think I mentioned to you, I went to one of these Japanese dollar store that they don't have down here. It's more up the North Jersey area. I bought a really small shovel, and I was actually watering, listening to a garden show. I was doing my watering, and I actually found a maple tree growing in one of my geranium pots,
Okay.
and I was trying to dig it out. And so I actually pulled out the tool that I bought, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. That's what I'll use. Just like you say, you need different size tools for different purposes.
Absolutely.
So,
No question. You definitely
Yeah.
have to do that. The more gardening you
Yes.
do, the more different kinds of gardening you do, you definitely don't want to use a big old root slayer in a little tiny pot and a little tiny spoon,
Right.
or it's not going to do the job, or anything outside. So have to have, and it's good to have good tools, tools you can count on. And
Right.
so I'm a big tool person. You know that, though. I mean, I love tools. I have all different kinds of tools. So
Yeah.
I have fun with my tools. And my son likes to buy me tools, which I think is kind of cute. He loves to buy his mom tools. So kind of an unconventional thing for a son to buy. But yes,
Well,
I
Actually, my son does that too. And, whenever I complain and he will buy me something, I actually having my eye on that multi-tool that you talk about. I think it's like $45.
right. Yeah.
Because none of my hand clippers last more than a season or a year, and it just thing just doesn't work as well, and I'm just frustrated. I have a whole bunch of them everywhere, but none of them are good and sharp enough. So
well, you should make sure you get one of those sharpeners, one of those little sharpeners, and keep it in your back pocket. Makes a big difference, Danny. I always have when I'm
Okay.
outside. Their Fiskars has their kind of elongated football shape, and they're made out of metal, and they fit in your pocket. And the stone ones, which are very common, sharpening stone. I'm sure you've heard that expression. I don't like to carry them in my pocket because they tend to break. They can break. But this little metal one,
Okay.
it's about the size of an emery board, but it's made out of metal, and it's kind of elliptical shaped. And I just keep it in my pocket so that if I'm working on something and all of a sudden I realize the blade's just not sharp, you do it on both sides. Takes 2 minutes maybe, and it's so much better. So you might want to get one of those and put that on your list.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks
Already.
for calling. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye
Have a
now.
good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right. So where are we? How much time do we have? Oh, let's see. What could we do quick? Let's do the set Criasa. Let's do that one. Okay. So I have this set Criasa, which for 3, maybe 4 years now, hangs on the porch at the Ocean Grove house all summer. And I have 4 huge geraniums that have also hung there. But the one spot on the porch is completely shaded by the oak tree. The rest of the porch gets direct sun. So this plant gets the filtered light through the oak tree, and it just thrives. But at this point, so I brought it in October, and it just, is getting overgrown. So it's looking less than. So I decided it was time to tackle it. Oh, and that's the flower. I mean, and I love the flowers, and it's all purple, and it's sometimes referred to as Tradescantia, but and it's definitely related to the Tradescantias, but I know it more commonly as Set Criasa purpurea. And that's what it looked like after I pruned it, which was a pretty dramatic change. And now it looks nice and healthy. And that is all the cuttings that I took from it, which is an enormous amount of cuttings. And that's what we pruned back, and those are the ones that we decided that we would start another plant with. Now, the interesting thing about these is that you can just stick them in the ground. They root so easily. So you can take the cuttings, take the ends, take the ones that are healthy and viable, and just stick them in. And this will be another giveaway plant that I will have. Again, either, as a house gift or gift to somebody who comes to the house or whatever. But I did do a video of how I pruned it. So if we could do that, we'll wrap up the show with that. I had a lot of fun. Okay, I started out using clippers, and it was kind of slow going. The plants are they're really very brittle, and eventually I decided that was kind of a waste of time using them. And also, I could only use one hand. So here I am pruning away. I'll just let you watch this for a second. So taking this plant from overgrown and ugly to looking really good took a minute and 28 seconds. So that's how long the video is, but it really made a dramatic difference. It made a dramatic difference in a minute and 28 seconds. Now, here's where I just forget it. I'm just going to rip and tear these things off. There's no point in being, so I can clean it up later if I need to. But it was just so much easier, and it just went so much faster. So that's it. A minute and 28 seconds, and the thing is completely pruned back, and isn't that kind of amazing? It looks really good, right? So I had a lot of fun with that, and we got a lot of cuttings, and sometimes you just have to go for it, and that was fun. So and that same plant will go out in Ocean Grove on the porch next year. Same pot, same plant. It'll do really well. So I think that brings us to the end of the show, right? I mean, we pretty much we have 3 minutes. Okay, so let me give the information again. The number is 888-399-7344. Remember that you can go to my website, which is gardenwithpeggy.com, and you can reach me through that. You can send me pictures. You can ask me questions. Also, we are on YouTube, and all of the shows are archived. So if there's anything that you missed, you can go back and look at the old shows. And last week we put the recipe for latkes, Marty from Metuchen's latke recipe. So you can go back to the archive and you can just pause it on where I show the recipe, and you can copy the recipe. So that's good. And we're also on Facebook. So you can find us on Facebook, and we would appreciate it if you would share it or like and subscribe. That would be great. We do have one more caller, so we'll take that. Who have we got? It's Anne-Marie from Milltown, right? Can you turn her on? Is she on? Anne-Marie, how you doing?
Good. I hesitated to call because Danny was on, and I know that we true friends from forever talk too long.
Well,
But
we do enjoy chatting for sure.
Well, I just need to tell you that the yellow, quote, Easter cactus that I propagated for you has 3 flowers on it.
And mine does
Yellow.
too. Mine has 3 or 4 flowers on it. And I took some pictures, but we didn't get to that
But what
today.
color?
Kind of yellowy with pink edges.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to. Yeah, that's how it is.
This one looks less
Okay,
pink.
I mean, it's not sunflower yellow.
This one looks, last year it looked just pink. This year it looks yellow and
Okay.
pink. So I think, so it looks
Oh,
really good.
okay.
It looks good. Yes.
Okay, well, if you want this other one, you may have it, or I will find a home. Not to worry.
No, I'm good. I'm definitely good, but I do appreciate it. And it looks beautiful. It looks absolutely beautiful right now. So.
Yeah, it's really pretty, but it was for Easter, so it's so off whack calendar that it doesn't know what it's doing.
They're all triggered simply by playing with nighttime temperatures. So you can force any of them into bloom. Any of the Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, if you manipulate the nighttime temperatures, you can force any of them into bloom when you want. So,
Sure. And about how many times a year can you make it bloom then?
Probably 2 or 3.
Oh, okay. So I could force it again for Easter.
Probably, yeah, but it would need to be exposed to cool temperatures, but not freezing. So, but the thing that's
Okay.
the kicker is that you want to expose it to cool night temperatures, but you don't want it to freeze. And so, trying to get it to bloom for Easter means that you would be exposing it to cool temperatures in the winter. So, where would you put it? Because you don't want to put it outside because then it would freeze. So, that's why this time of year is the easiest, because you just leave it outside before the weather gets too cold, and then that triggers it to bloom now. That's why it's so much easier to get them to bloom now.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I did share that with somebody last weekend at my grandson's birthday party. She goes, "My Christmas cactus never blooms." I said, "Here's your problem."
Good for you.
She said,
Share that information. Yes.
Hey, I said, "My friend Peggy says."
Well, that's
okay.
good.
Well, you don't need my yellow one, but that's okay. And I'm glad that yours decided to be yellow this year, because I felt so bad that it was.
I sent you
not gonna be
pictures. It was
happy.
pink last year. It was definitely pink. You know what?
That's what you said, and I was like, I know where I am not good at getting them to root, so I thought that was a mammoth occasion for me to get that to grow. And then you tell me it's the wrong color, then I was sad.
Here, I wonder, Emery,
But-
last year I had it in a sunnier location. This year it's on the back of the stainless steel benches up against the sitting area. So it's got big plants around it. So I'm wondering if it got so much sun last time, that was the difference.
I don't know. Well, mine's in my bay window. With all of my Christmas cactus are in the bay window. So if mine changed color, they could just decide they wanted to all be like their neighbor instead of being pink or peach or red or white and pink. I can't tell one from the other when they're not blooming. That's for sure.
But temperature
I don't really care.
and exposure, the same plant can produce different shades of the same color. For example, dogwoods, you have white dogwoods and pink dogwoods. If you have a really, really cold winter, the white dogwoods can show pink on the edges of the flowers. So the temperature, even though it's the same plant, that difference of environmental conditions will produce a slightly different expression of color. So this plant went from a really sunny location to a dappled light. And so I'm thinking, maybe the pink, just like the pink in the dogwood, with more light or different environmental conditions, produced more pink, and in the shade produces less pink. Just an idea. I mean, we'd have to do serious experimentation to make sure that that's correct, to validate that. But it's a theory based on logic, at least. No proof, but logic. So that may be
no proof, but okay. It changed colors. That's all we care about.
Yes, and it's beautiful in either case. Either way, it was beautiful. All right, so how's Uncle Art?
Yeah. Okay. He's good. We're winding up from yesterday's big bazaar event, so he's the banker, so he's doing the paperwork on that.
Well, you have a wonderful day, and I'm sure we'll be talking soon.
Okay, good. Good to hear you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling. Bye-bye now. Okay, well, we've gone a little bit over time, just a couple minutes, but that's fine. We have no hard stop here, so it's all good. It is Christmas, so there's all kinds of things, Christmassy things going on, and that certainly, don't forget to get your Christmas tree. Go see Jack Otterbein if you want to get a fresh cut tree over on Skillman's Lane in Somerset. So go over there. I've got my tree already picked out, but I will be here next week, same time, same place. So until then, you guys have a good one.